There's a phrase that comes up often when discussing socialism, communism, which is socialism works in theory but not in practice. And I wanted to unpack this a little bit. Now, there are two assumptions baked into this phrase. The first one is socialism has in fact been tried, it has been put into practice. And secondly, that when it has been put into practice, it has failed, it has brought about bad results. And from the normie perspective, what this means is socialism ideally brings about prosperity and well-being to those who are under it. But when it has been put into practice, it has not brought about well-being and prosperity. That's what the phrase means in common parlance, exoterically, outwardly, explicitly. But I think we can gather insight from looking at this phrase in a different light, from a different perspective. From a Marxist perspective, the purpose of socialism isn't necessarily to bring about well-being, but to bring about a change, a transformation of society and of humanity, which paves the way for the final stage of history, which is communism, which is like a heaven on earth-like state, according to Marxist theory. Looking at it from that perspective, works doesn't necessarily mean brings about well-being and prosperity. It means brings about the transformation necessary for the final stage of history to come about. So when they say it doesn't work in practice, it means that the attempted implementations of socialism have not created the social, metaphysical, personal transformation of humanity that is necessary to bring about the end of history. And what that does is it raises a challenge for the socialists, for the Marxists, on the praxis side, which is what implementation of socialism is actually necessary to bring about the transformation that will bring about the end of history. How do we modify the praxis so that the theory can work? That's what socialism works in theory. Socialism in theory brings about the transformation necessary to bring about the end of history. Doesn't work in practice. The praxis has been flawed in that it hasn't been effective at bringing about the end of history. That's the challenge. How does praxis need to be modified to achieve the goals of the theory, the goals originally set out by the theory? And yeah, we'll talk about that later. Thanks for watching.